Hi and welcome to a new build episode on my channel. Today I'm going to go through the last modifications I did on my clipped wing Funcub. For the ones who didn't follow the build episodes before, I tried to build a clipped wing Funcub which has a wingspan around 1.2 meters instead of 1.4 meters. And did some modifications for 3D flying and for making it a bit more lightweight and as powerful as possible. So this is how the plane will look like. There is no paint at all at the moment and no decals. It's just the build which is done, and like this I'm gonna do the first test flights. So I have easy job to do any modifications without the painting already done. If there are some changes needed in the setup, I did so far. The prop and the wheels are just mounted to show you how the plane looks if it's completely built up. I'm gonna take them off just to go through the last modifications I did. First, let's have a look at the landing gear. The modification I did is just an optical modification, it's not a functional one. What I don't like at the original landing gear is that you only have one rod, and this is just doesn't look that nice. And what I already did on my first build is that I added a second rod. This is similar build as on my first build, but what I changed on this one is that I added some 8mm carbon rods inside the fuselage to avoid the holes in the foam getting bigger and bigger after months and years of flying. So this rod I can show when I move the rod, the second added rod can move inside the hole in the fuselage. So this is really just an optical solution or modification. To connect the second rod on the first rod, I simply used plastic dip to connect these two rods. That looks pretty clean. That's what I need here. This is the spray solution. That's pretty well mounted like this, and if it breaks one day you just can add some more plastic dip and it's fixed again. So I like the solution for plastic dip. It looks pretty clean. The carbon rods I used are 3mm carbon rods, and just cut it in a length. They go into the fuselage about 5 centimeters, so if you move the landing gear they won't come out of the fuselage, and like this solution works pretty well. The second modification are the wing rods I added. These are a technical solution just to make the wing more stiff in comparison to the original solution. The first step I had to do is to cut into the fuselage to put in a 1mm carbon plate with drilled holes to mount the wing rods, and I added some rod ends like I used them on the servos. And what I had to modify, what is really important, that I have to add screws at the end instead of the original plastic pin you have at the rod ends. If you use the plastic pins, they will break during the flight. There is too much force on these pins, so I had to replace the original pins with screws, and like this fits pretty well and it's super strong. It can't break during the flights. Then I also put some shrink tube over the rod end just to make the finish look a bit nicer than without. And on the wing side is the same, just white rod end, but that doesn't matter. Shrink tube on it, the screw in it, and the 1mm plate into the wing with the drilled hole just to keep the whole thing pretty stiff. One of the most important targets on this build was to make it possible to have removable servos. So I didn't want a solution where I glued in the servos into the wing and into the fuselage. So what I did is that I mounted into the wing some wooden plates, some small wooden plates. They're under the carbon here. like this I was able to design a carbon piece which is screwed into the wooden plates, and the servo then is glued with some pour glue. This is the glue I used for this, and this is removable, so if you have to change a broken servo, you just screw out the carbon part, take out the plate including the servo, remove the servo from the plate, put another servo inside the wing, put some glue on the servo, the plate back on the servo, and you have changed the servo. The installation is super strong, the servo can't move anywhere. It's like this, you won't have the problem if your glued-in servo breaks. You have to pull it out and maybe your wing will get some damage, and with this solution you won't have any damage on your wing if you need to change your servos. Then let's have a look at the servo rods. These are 2.5mm carbon rods glued into some plastic rod ends. These are the same rod ends as I use on the wing rods on the servo, and rather they are strong enough with the plastic pin which they have originally installed. The same thing is on elevator, and rather same installation. That's lightweight like this. There is no more adjustment in the length. You have no more possibility to adjust the length, but I just measured the exact right length I use, so there is no need to change the length of the rods if you have installed them once. The last modification I did is the battery mount. So the battery mount itself is inside the fuselage. That modification I showed on a previous video. What I had to figure out is how to keep the battery in place so that it doesn't fall out of the fuselage during a flight. And what I tried is to build a carbon plate with some foam underneath it, just because of a little bit different battery lengths. It depends on which manufacturer you have the battery, 1 or 2 millimeters longer or shorter. So the foam makes it possible to fit any battery. And at the front you can see there are 2 pieces of foam which keep the carbon plate centered. And on the other end, on the rear end, I added a body mount from my old rock crawler from Axial, where I just can take off the clip and take off the carbon piece, and like this you can pull out the battery, and this is how the battery mount looks inside. Just some 3 pieces of carbon plates, and that's the solution I'm gonna try now. I think this will work fine. The body mount is just glued into the fuselage, and the piece of carbon looks just like this with the foam on it, and I use a regular clip which you can get from Tamiya or other manufacturers, and that's all about the battery mount. So that's already all for today. This was the last build episode. Next steps will be Maiden flight and painting and decals. These episodes will follow as soon as possible. If you like the video, give me a thumb up, don't forget to subscribe, and as always, happy flying. Bye bye.